Hello everyone, I'm Bible Jonathan. You're welcome to this edition of The Inside on Equinox Television. In this edition of the program, we're going to take a look at the putting in place of the Constitutional Council in the Republic of Cameroon by President Paul Biya and the senatorial election that will be organized this year in the country on the 25th of March 2018, and of course the reactions of the U.S. State Department and the European Union on the Anglophone crisis. In a moment, discover our guest. Our guest in this edition of the program is a political analyst and lecturer of law at the University Institute of the Gulf of Guinea here in the economic capital, Douala. Jogn Ako, you're welcome to the program.
The pleasure is mine.
Now, 22 years down memory lane, the Constitutional Council was enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Cameroon, and it is being implemented today. What can possibly explain this delay?
Most often than not, I will like first of all to tell you that the head of state has been for 35 years managing power security, trying to maintain himself in power, and has been afraid of putting or implementing the obligations bestowed on him by the Constitution. One of it is implementing the organs, the various organs of the Constitution. And if we can look at it, what might have provoked the head of state to come out now to implement or create the Constitutional Council is what many Cameroonians are still trying to find out. And if you see from last week, you will realize that the head of state has done so, and many Cameroonians, including in my own modest opinion, feeling that Cameroonians have more better options now than creating the Constitutional Council. But then why is the worry? We will try to thank him for taking this gesture first of creating the institution. But then what is the institution and what is its need? Do Cameroonians need this particular institution now? It might be so, as many quarters you will imagine, that many political parties or political actors and the civil society are trying to look at that something is being cooked at the level of the Unity Palace if the Constitutional Council is created at this moment, considering the competence and the function, the role this particular organ play when it comes to elections. And we equally understand that 2018 is considered an election year for Cameroonians. We are going to have the senatorial elections, the parliamentary elections, and the presidential elections. I believe this is one of the motivations that might have caused the head of state to implement or create this institution.
So according to you, the delay is simply an issue of lack of political will?
Lack of political will is what we have been saying. And again, if we look at the role that this organ was supposed to play, and if we look at again, who were those going to be the composition of this Constitutional Council? The head of state had a lot of doubts, because somewhere the Constitution, you realize that they said the President of the Republic shall appoint members of the Constitutional Council. And then, before its appointment, the members must be designated by the various organs. And the law equally gives the president the power to nominate just 3 out of these 11 members, the 3 including the president of that particular council.
And that's where there's yet another problem highlighted by the civil society to say that the appointment of members of this council led by Clement Atangana, a senior magistrate, is illegal in the sense that the 3 were supposed to be appointed by the head of state, 2 by House Speaker Kabayege Jibril in consultation with his peers at the National Assembly, and of course 3 by the Senate President, and then 2 by the Higher Judicial Council. But during the last Higher Judicial Council meeting, the resolutions mentioned nothing about deliberations on this.
Yeah, you will imagine that it is not only the Constitutional Council that creates problem. I will tell you that Cameroon have what we call egoistic tendencies. That in our country, like us, 60 years after independence, people cannot be sincere to themselves in certain outstate institutions. It is not about the Higher Judicial Council meeting. We have to talk of the last session, the last parliamentary session, the last senatorial session. Nothing was said about the creation of the Constitutional Council. And so what happens? How did this proposal, who were those proposed to this position. And if you look again, I have a problem, a worry with the composition in itself. When you look at all the 11 members of that particular commission, out of this 11, you have one person like Professor Ponkwi, who was not a member of the ruling party. And this gives us again another sense of the credibility. Normally, we act in illegality in Cameroon, and since the government, they said, they will tell you in French that he who has a bit of power to act and do everything. And so I believe this is where the law of the Francophone system is relying itself. And we have a problem with the inherited system of La Francophonie. In that system, we have built strong individuals and very weak and lazy institutions. And this is what we see being perpetrated at any time throughout Africa.
Now, what is the problem with the fact that many of the members are former members of the Bia regime?
Yeah, that is what we're talking about.
To do with their independence?
Obviously, the 2006 revision modeling the 1996 constitution, as far as the creation of the Constitutional Council is concerned, we were told, in fact, because the 1996 constitution said the members were to be appointed for a mandate of 9 years, non-renewable. Are you there? And now in 2006 amendment of the same council, they are now being appointed for a mandate of 6 years, renewable. This is a problem. Meaning somewhere we want to talk of an organ that has a very wide, in fact, very wide obligations or duties as far as citizens' life is concerned. This would have been guaranteed in its independence. The independence and maybe the honest nature of the council would have given us a better taste. How can the law would have secured one? It would have been a limited mandate, not renewable, or to some extent we should have a constitutional council for life, which assures us something that even if they were members of the ruling party, they were going to be there for life. The president has no right to revoke or dismiss or terminate their functions. They would have been there to serve the life of the citizen. They would have been believing that after such appointment, they will obviously give up, because even the rule states that members of the Constitutional Council, that their work will be incompatible with any other public office, including their political party adhesion or lineage. This is what we have seen, but it's not the case. If you can imagine that in 6 years' time, the president of the republic needs to give you confidence again, and considering that you have been a member of the ruling citizen party, not only of the ruling citizen party, but I will tell you that more than 7 of them have been bred and grown up at the presidential palace. And you can name a lot of them that they have had a taste of the presidential vision, and they know what the president stands for, and we all standing here know. How can a leopard within overnight becomes a sheep or a goat? It is impossible. No matter the clothing you give this leopard to carry, it remains a leopard in its character.
Now, some, like the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front, John Fundi, are questioning the credibility and, of course, independence of the president of that Constitutional Council, of the Constitutional Council, notably talking about the senior magistrate, Clement Atangana, considering the work that he did while he was at the Supreme Court. He was the president of the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. Some are questioning his credibility.
It is what we are saying here. He has been at the Supreme Court, at the administrative bench since 1997, before even going on retirement. You realize that Clement Atangana has been one of those people that have tortured the electoral system of this nation. I believe if Marafa is in prison, Clement Atangana could equally have a hand in many of the electoral maneuvers in Cameroon. And taking this same person to put in a position that has to do with the constitutionality of the laws, that has to do with the putting in place and controlling government powers, that has to do with referendum, parliamentary and presidential election in a year of this nature. I will, as I have put it in my own language, it is a political anarchy or otherwise political dictatorship against a few class of people. And I'm telling you that less than 1% of Cameroonians keep on torturing 99%. This is not a nation. This is not democracy. Democracy for the life of the people, it is said, it's a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And this is what we need to do. You do and render services for the name of the people. But in Cameroon, it's not the case. These people, the moment they are appointed, they know that, as some said in their interview, you had it within the week, that they will thank the head of state for the confidence he has bestowed on them.
And of course, that's what they have been doing now. Some equally hold the school of thought that he should have been a constitutionalist. to head such an institution?
Not only a constitutionalist, taking one, a constitutionalist would be better, but having what I call civil society activists or civil society actors, men of the clergy or the religious faithfuls or whatsoever at the helm of this commission or council was going to do us better. And I believe their activities would have equally been apolitical, but not taking people with a very strong political lineage, not only of a passive one, but of an active one in their working career. A lot, I would say the loan that has maybe far off is a mill somewhere. And imagine the person at the appeal court in the Southwest region who was saying, in fact, he is surprised that the head of state is giving him confidence considering he's very far from the powers that be. And it will tell you that people like Bongo, they have also been at the President of the Republic. You have Jean Fumanakam, they have also been at the President of the Republic. And a lot of that. So when we talk of the credibility here, we need to have an institution. I believe in myself that 60 years after independence, the powers that be have to fight to give Cameroonians strong and better institutions rather than being maneuvered by political agendas or the willingness or the egoistic tendencies of staying in power as long as the which. Why not equally? Somewhere people equally think that the president is creating the Constitutional Council because the Constitution made ex-president ex-officio members, meaning they will become members for life. And you can imagine, if 2018 election does not favor the person in power, then the Constitutional Council has been created by the powers that be. He too will become a member of the Constitutional Council. And so they're going to act as advisors to the Constitutional Council, meaning somewhere along the line, they still have the power to manage at least an institution within the regime.
Now, looking at the country at this particular point in time, did you expect the President of the Republic to appoint an Anglophone to head that institution?
Not expecting. You are very right. Not expecting. I will tell you that if you look at the powers that governs this Cameroon, we might consider the Constitutional Council as one of the highest judicial organs in Cameroon. Look at the Constitutional Council, the leader. Look at the Senate, who is the leader. Look at the National Assembly, who is the leader. Look at the Presidency of the Republic. You look at the Economic and Social Council. Who are their leaders? Cameroonians are left nothing. It is just telling you that an Anglophone is a passive candidate and that their presence in or out is not needed. And if we consider it, I would believe that everybody, whether you are from which background, adding the Francophones themselves together, will say the head of state might have erred in his decision and that he does not have that willingness to accommodate another group of people, considering the time, the crisis in which we are, to the neglect of the Southwest and the Northwest region. A Constitutional Council created and still seeing a Francophone, not only a Francophone, but a Bulu at a position which we see in other parts and in other executive positions in the government, that the Bulu, they occupy everything and any other person is coming to accommodate or accompany them to attain their objectives.
Why do you refer to the President of the Constitutional Council as a Bulu?
Yeah, most often I said it's coming from Yaoundé. This is Atana Clements. I'm believing that it's coming from Yaoundé and that is their region. And this, when we look at the regime, these are the same people. In fact, the Bulu people mean all those of the South. And this is what I'm referring to as a tribe of the people, not as the Bulu and in the person.
All right, so you have a problem with the President of the Republic always choosing from around?
Yeah, it is not like always choosing.
Most of the people are close to him.
Exactly. If we go to name the list, when we get to ministers, even go back to the position at the level of the National Assembly, you know how many senators or parliamentarians come from the South. But the South does not represent, when we talk of population makeup and even the territorial coverage, the South does not mean anything. So if we get into other arms of the government, you realize that we have come to accompany them, and they know very well, especially after the April 6 coup d'etat that failed, and you realize that they told the head of state, it is our own time to manage, and so we will do it with you, care less of any other person. So the strongest and those pillars in the system, some have been abandoned in some ministerial position for the past 17, 15 years, and even some in some corporate position or state corporations that have been there for the past 12 years. It is not God. I cannot believe that in a system, in modern democracy, somebody can hold an office more than the mandate of the president. The president had a mandate of 7 years, renewable. But these people have been there for more than 3 or 2 mandates of that president. We are not being governed. We are simply being enduring the system.
And the Constitutional Council definitely has a very important role to play as far as issues concerning the constitutionality of laws and of course elections are concerned.
Yes, that is what I said, that the Constitutional Council has a very primordial role to play. It governs, it guides elections relating to the President, the Senate, the National Assembly, the constitutionality of laws, and equally is the organ to proclaim elections. You can imagine that now what the Supreme Court was doing in the past, acting as a Constitutional Council, now comes within the powers of the Constitutional Council to declare elections. And if the person to declare elections is already a former member of the ruling party, I am foreseeing there's already a political or an electoral coup d'etat, that elections will always be hijacked in favor of the party to which he represents before becoming the president of that council. So we have a lot to see that in a modern democracy we build a system that is built on trust of every Cameroonian, and that the strength of every Cameroonian, no matter the political background, can govern and will do it perfectly. We need to see the president, if the president of that commission somehow belongs to somebody of the opposition party, I believe he would have even tried to blind up or to blur the inefficacy or the credibility of this particular organ. Now we see it that somebody like Ayuk, who has been a top-ranking government officials and declaring elections and even looking at, how can I call it, contest, I mean the applications of fraud at the level of the administrative bench of the Supreme Court, considering SDF position in the last 2-3 parliamentary or presidential elections. This man has been at the board, and we are calling him now to come and proclaim to us the elections which we are going to organize in 2018. The international community, I'm just saying, may be just assisting or pushing Cameroonians and the civilian party to attain an objective or legalize its illegality. This is what I would put in, because in law, when you prepare a manner of governing election or organizing elections, and you put already in place a linesman or a referee that is already of the opposite end, then it will mean that whatever the situation, we will turn the match, and the match will always favor from the side whom that person appointed. And this is what we are saying, that the position of this electoral board, considering its president and any other member away from Professor Pongui, I believe it was meant to fail, and that we don't expect anything really from that.
Now these are people who have been appointed by the President of the Republic based on their background, their intellectual background, their professional background, and they have been presented as square pegs in square holes. But when I listen to you, you seem to be giving the impression that the council will not be able to properly play its role in looking at the constitution and the members.
Yes, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that they are not intelligent, they are not men of integrity or moral rectitude or professionally renowned. That is what the Constitution said, that the president shall nominate from members to the Constitutional Council those with a professionally renowned background, those with high moral rectitude and professionalism. This is not what we are saying. We are talking of the lineage, of the link between this individual and the ruling class, and even the party in power. I will tell you equally that the other person is Florence Reita, whom equally I know who she is, I know where she has been, but she has been a good judge at the level of the International Tribunal for Rwanda in Tanzania. She might be a very good person also to govern this organ, but I will tell you equally that they are not the lone intellectuals in Cameroon. Cameroon has more better intellectuals equally with the same profile if they were concerted, if they were chosen from an honest position. If we, as we said formally, if the Bureau of the National Assembly was to meet and propose its 3 candidates, if the Bureau of the Senate was to meet and choose its own 3 candidates, and the higher Judicial Council need to choose its own 2 candidates, I believe whatsoever, the composition would have been a better one, because the Senate wouldn't have done that without the idea or the opinion of the SDF or any other party present in the Senate. The Cavaille Supreme wouldn't have done that without the consultation of the other bureau members of the National Assembly, which are also opposition members, and what of the higher Judicial Council. When you look at the nominations and how it has been toiled around to favor the rule, there is already an intention to tell you that we are not there for credibility, we are there for results.
So in a nutshell, you're saying that the Constitutional Council will just be another toothless bulldog under the yoke of the executive.
It is not like toothless bulldog, it's what it is. Because when you look at it, this is the same system they did in creating the Senate. They created the Senate as if Cameroonians were under pressure. The Senate does not even have an office. The Senate is being lodged in a state house which was not reviewed for them. Meaning we are never prepared to do things. We come out to give political compensation. What I will say, most of those who are there are either on retirement or on the verge of their retirement. So it becomes a political compensation of what they have done for the ruling party. And if this is the case, I tell you, Cameroon is digging deep to failure. And I will not see a country which I belong to be at this verge. I have not said the creation of the Constitutional Council was not supposed to be. I said, thanks to the head of state, it is part of implementing the Constitution. But I think he would have done better if these people would have been nominated or appointed otherwise, or following the rules put in place by the Constitution. If everything, I mean, if the Constitutional Council by itself has to start pronouncing on the constitutionality of the laws, one of the things I may ask the Constitutional Council to visit is their creation or the appointments or the creation of the Constitutional Council, which I think has been totally out of the obligations or has been totally out of the legality put down by the laws.
And the Constitutional Council will definitely have a very important role to play in the upcoming senatorial elections scheduled on the 25th of March 2018 by the President of the Republic. But before we look at that,